Hi, welcome back to engVid.com. I'm Adam, and in today's video, I'm going to help you sound a little bit more like a native English speaker, and also to be able to understand native English speakers when they speak. What I'm talking about more specifically is how to pronounce the preposition of. Now, I said off, although we almost never say off. The F hardly ever sounds like F. It sounds like a V when it's pronounced, but even more often we just drop it altogether and just have an sound, or even just like a small apostrophe sound, like almost no sound at all between the and the word that comes after it. Okay, so most of the time it sounds like or of with a V sound, not an F sound. Now they're very similar in the mouth where the lips and the tongue are, but we'll practice that. So what really depends on how to use it is what follows the F, what the next word starts with, right? If it's followed by a hard consonant, like a T or a P or a D or a K or whatever, then we generally don't drop too much, but we leave the of or we have the So a lot of people, we say in native speed, a lot of people. A lot of people. So you can either hear the sound, a lot, or a lot of people. Like you drop into the P, a people, a lot of people, okay? Sometimes we can also just add the V. So you can pronounce the A very hard, with time, a lot of time. A lot of time could be, again, the apostrophe, almost no sound, or the sound. Or we can just use the of, a lot of time. A lot of time, okay? Notice also that the last consonant goes into the vowel, a lot of time, a lot of time, time, a lot of time, a lot of time, okay? So this is with the hard consonants. Now, when it's followed by a TH, so when we, for example, when we have them, most native speakers will just drop the TH altogether and just say M. Okay, so some of them, some of them. So some of them, because we drop the th and we take the v of the of. Some of them, some of them, some of them, some of them, some of them. If you want to keep the th, drop the v. If you want to use the v, drop the th. But generally we don't have them together. Some of them. Some of them, okay? But when you have a word like these, in these we don't generally drop the th. This is common with them, not common with other words. So some of these, or some of these. You have the v, or you have the but you keep the th in these. With them, you can drop the th. With these, you keep the th. Some of these, okay? Now, one of the best. So here again, we have the TH. One of the best. Notice I say of with a V, not an F. We never pronounce the F, or hardly ever pronounce the F. Okay, one of the best. Wanna the best. Drop the F, drop the V, and keep the Wanna. One of. Wanna the best, and keep the best. Or, if you want to use the V, you keep the wa, nuv, make it like blend into the next word. The N goes into the O, in an ellipsis it's called, one of the best. So you have the option V or A. Now this is especially important when you're listening to native English speakers speak at regular speed. Native speakers don't even think about the F. It's automatically dropped. Sometimes they'll use the V, sometimes they'll just use the A. Be prepared to listen to both, okay? Let's look at a few more examples. Okay, so now we're going to look at some other situations. For example, when of is followed by an H. Now again, for native speakers, the H is a very weak sound. So quite often we just drop it. We just blend it into whatever came before and after, right? So some of whom. Now, if I'm speaking slowly and I'm trying to enunciate every word, I would say some of whom decided that. But in normal speed, fast English, some of whom. Some of whom, right? The V from the of, there's the O, there's the V. Samavum. It blends together. And the H is there, but it's very soft and very weak, so you don't really even hear it. Samavum. Samavum. Like, it's a little bit of an extra step, but it's not really there. You can almost drop it. A lot of help. A lot of help. Now here, you notice I didn't take it out because it's still there a little bit more. Sorry, a lot of help. So I pronounced the E a little bit stronger to make up for the weak H. Okay? And sorry. Notice also that the TOV, the T-O-V blends into each other, and then the V goes into the next word because of the H. So it's almost like a vowel sound. Get rid of him. So somebody's at the door, I don't want to talk to him, just get rid of him. Like with him, we quite often drop the H. The same as with them. Them, you drop the TH. With him, we drop the H. So get rid of him, rid of him. It sounds like devim. Rid of him. Get rid of him. Now, the reason we're looking at all this is because when you watch movies or you speak to a native speaker, they will speak like this, not like this. And you need to understand that all they've done is they've basically taken the of and just, squished it. They've used it as a bridge between words, okay? So be able to recognize that. Now, if it's followed by a vowel, okay, my red's almost done here. Let's go to blue. Okay, now followed by a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, whatever. The rest of our day. The rest of, I'm still using the of, even if I'm speaking slowly, our day. Rest of our day. Now, the hour, ow, we just squeeze into ah. Now, because we're making it quick, everything blends into each other. Rest of our day. Rest of our day. You can almost think of it like a apostrophe. There's almost no O there even. Tavar. Rest of our day. In natural speed. 100% of every donation goes to charity. Percent tavevi. Tavevi. There's the of, and the T from the percent blends into the O, the V blends into the E, and then you have it sounds like one word. 100% of every, tavevi, okay? And then we have a lot of attention. So we have O, we have E, we have A. A lot of attention, a lot of attention, all squeezed together. And the OV, the OF becomes AV, a lot of attention, a lot of attention, okay? Now, if you have a word that ends in F before the of, that is pretty much the only time you will hear the F. Half of the class. Oh, I guess not. You'll hear this F, half of the class. So maybe you never really hear the F. In some situations you will, of course. That's pretty much the only time I can think of that you will hear the F in of course. Okay? Half of the class. Half of the. Everything blends together. So, again, the whole point of this is to be able to recognize what you're hearing from native speakers when they're speaking quickly. If you want to sound more like a native speaker, get used to squeezing that or changing it to a V, sometimes just dropping it off completely, okay? And if you have any questions about this, of course, come to engVid.com. You can ask me any questions. Because this is a pronunciation lesson, and you need to hear it more than see it on typed, there's no quiz with this lesson, but please come and ask any questions you have at engVid.com. If you like this lesson, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and I'll see you again real soon. Okay, bye-bye.